My name is Dr. Ilya Skolnikov. I'm the clinic director here at Trident Health Family Healing Center. The reason I do the kind of work that I do is that when I was young, I was having a lot of trouble with acne, and it was really embarrassing, and it's kind of hard to get a date when you have more than 3 or 4 eyes. So I ended up doing all these different things to get rid of the acne. I used benzoyl peroxide, and then I used something called Cleocin T, and none of those things seemed to work. I ended up having my acne get better sometimes for a couple days, and then it would get worse again. So then I ended up using tetracycline, and I ended up using something called Retin A, and I did all these different therapies, and none of them worked. So finally I ended up using something called Accutane. If you look on the back of the label of the Accutane, it has all kinds of warnings, may cause permanent liver damage. I took the product and hoped for the best, and it warned again on the label you may cause lots of redness of the skin and flushing, and you may see floaters in your eyes, and you might have a lot of sensitivity to the sun, so stay out of the sun. Sure enough, I had the flushing of my skin, I got really dry skin, I had the floaters in my eyes, and I thought all that was normal. I had no idea, and again, I still wasn't really clear on what the liver did and how important it was. My father was a medical doctor, so my upbringing was more of a medical approach. And I was starting to already become interested in holistic type things, but really didn't know much about it. I ended up getting a really toxic liver from using the product. So with the toxic liver, I was having hot flashes sometimes, kind of minor warm type flashes. At night, I would sweat, when I was trying to sleep, and I was starting to have a situation where I'd get angry every now and then. This girl I was dating, I remember in my mind now, I used to yell at her every now and then, like really, really loudly and furiously, just because I figured she was bothering me and she was pissing me off, and that's why I was yelling at her. But it wasn't so much her, it was me. I was toxic, and one of the main emotions I learned later of a toxic liver is anger. One day I was in the gym lifting weights, and I heard this sound like a rope with lots of weight at the end of it, a cord being cut, and that was my muscle. I tore 90% of my pec major sternal muscle on the left, and I had to get it surgically repaired and go through the whole physical therapy process and whatnot. I'd never torn a muscle in my life. Then 3 or 4 years later, when I was in chiropractic school, I tore the other pec major sternal on the other side of my body. And again, I'd never torn a muscle in my life. So it seems kind of ironic that I was tearing these exact same muscles on either side of my body when I'd never torn a muscle before. So it turns out that those two muscles are related to the liver. Anger is related to the liver. Sure enough, I had a really, really toxic liver. This is why. I was having irritable bowel syndrome. I was going to the bathroom 5 or 6 times a day, doing number 2. Plus, I was having really bad pain between my shoulder blades, knifing-like pains, like I was being stabbed. I remember sometimes the pain was so bad I'd just have to kind of sit there and hold myself from moving because I couldn't function. It was like really, really uncomfortable. So I knew I needed some kind of solution. And what I did was I found somebody who had certain kinds of skill and certain kinds of training. I was already studying acupuncture and chiropractic at the same time. It's kind of a heavy schedule. I was getting 5 or 6 acupuncture treatments a week, and I was getting a chiropractic adjustment every week. So I'd gotten about 17 or 20 chiropractic adjustments and 40 or 50 acupuncture treatments when I realized my health was plateauing. I wasn't really getting much worse, but I certainly wasn't getting better. I found somebody who had extra skills and extra training. They were what's called a diplomate of the International Board of Applied Kinesiology, which is what training I have now. And they had studied neuro-emotional technique and total body modification. They had completely different skills and completely different training than anyone I'd seen. And in just one visit, I got more results than I did with the 40 or 50 acupuncture treatments and the 17 or 20 chiropractic adjustments and the herbs that I was doing and all those other things. It might have cost me like $180 to get this treatment, something like that, for about a half hour. But I'll tell you what, it was worth it. It was well worth it. I would have paid 6 or 10 times that amount of money. Between the time that I used the Accutane and the time that I was able to get my liver detoxified was approximately 11 years. So over the course of those 11 years, my liver wasn't detoxifying at all. It was ridiculous. I was in all kinds of trouble. I was angry at everyone. I wasn't pleasant to be around. I was seeing the worst in people. I was negative. Everything was doom and gloom. But once I was able to sweep away a lot of these poisons and toxins and toxoids, I was like happy. I was upbeat. I was optimistic. I was going places. I was a can-do kind of person instead of a can't do it or it's impossible. So now my energy's great. I have energy all day throughout the day. I didn't even mention my energy was bad, but with the headaches, the irritable bowel syndrome, and what's like fibromyalgia type symptoms, I had terrible energy. I was just exhausted all day through the day. I was having to take a handful of pills to wake up in the morning, a handful of pills to go to sleep at night. Plus I was taking the pills throughout the day. And now my energy's good. I have energy when I wake up in the morning. I'm like jumping out of bed. I'm like doing push-ups and sit-ups, and I sleep great throughout the night. And what I realized is that I wanted to give back. I wanted to be able to do that kind of work. So that's what I decided to commit myself in chiropractic school to, was studying these types of therapies so I could help people in the same way that I got help. And if you really think about it, the kind of things I was dealing with were actually female hormonal imbalances. Even though I'm a male, men and women have female hormones. It's just men have more male hormones. Women tend to have more female hormones. And you can have permanent healing, indeed. You just need somebody with the right skills and training to help. You need somebody who has skills of a naturopath, a homeopath, an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, an osteopath, and somebody who does energy medicine. So now I specialize in helping people who have the difficulties I had, the thyroid dysfunction and the trouble with their hormones. Especially women tend to have more of these imbalances. So thank you so much.